say.
Oh, you told me that one.
Yeah, here, kind of.
You gave me that. What did you tell me? Bruschevitz. Bruschevitz. I have a feeling the Swedish team's going to be really good. There's 6 kids drafted in the first 60 picks. They didn't break for one reason or another. There might be better guys that are older.
Got my boat lift fixed. Found a guy that could.
What part of town are you in?
I'm out west.
We're moving to Delano.
I live by Buffalo.
Okay.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Yeah, so my girlfriend, I moved in with her beginning September 2023, whatever, 2 school years ago. Now her kids are out of high school. So she's in Victoria and wanted a smaller house, and we ended up building. Hard to find some people that will do it smaller. She had 5 bedrooms, 5 baths, 3-car garage, office. She had a big house. She had 4 kids, so we needed a smaller house. That's all they want to build now, because the builders, once they do all the work of getting the infrastructure and the lot, they want to build
So they get jacked
houses
the
for
price.
families. Yeah, because we found a local builder, and well, yeah. So I'm super excited because Delano doesn't have a golf course, but we're kind of at like the donut hole. We're really close to a lot of them. The 9-hole course in Buffalo is great, and then the Wild Marsh is I really like Wild Marsh. You're not a big fan?
Too much marsh.
There's a
lot of goofy shots you got to take.
You have to carry it over a bunch of marsh. That's true.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, like the one where you got to basically chip up in front of the weeds so you can get a shot to get over it.
Oh yeah, 11.
That's kind of
11's terrible. So the story there is the court's open. I didn't live here, but the court's open.
Oh yeah.
And then when it was quickly decided they would bring in a different architect, we kind of was stuck with some of the existing corridors. And that number 11, there's really not much to do. Maybe they did like 2 par 3s that are 90 yards even. That hole is so bad.
Well, their problem was that they were filling in wetlands without a permit. That's what screwed up. That's what screwed up the whole thing. The first developers.
And they don't have a driving range. But it's pretty nice.
But they're way too expensive.
The 9 holes come Skahan. So both Evan and Skahan are a long sound. So yeah, Skahan. And his dad's like, was he the Wild strength coach or something like that? Does that ring a bell maybe? He, the kid grew up in Maple Grove, and I think he got him on a fast track for hockey where he went to Shattuck, but got in trouble down there. So he played here. He played at St. Thomas. Yeah, before St. Thomas was Shattuck, but he got in trouble at Shattuck behaviorally, and St. Thomas took him in, but then he went for the national program. Another big call defenseman. can't remember what the rule book is for, because you do it college. That's different than
Well,
NHL.
and they change it all the damn time,
They
too.
change all the time.
Every year, the USA or NCHC, oh, this time we're going to do a 3-on-3. Oh, where'd that come
Yeah.
from? It's overtime. I'm like,
Yeah. You go through it because you've got, this is international, then you've got that. You said high school, like that's yet another rule book. It's just so crazy as an announcer trying to keep up with it all. You know, do the best you can, but it's just a lot to keep track of. Did you grow up in the Twin Cities then?
Duluth.
Oh, okay. Duluth is pretty nice now. Do you feel that it's gotten a lot nicer over the years? Because I don't remember Duluth when I was a kid being as nice as it is now.
Yeah. No, I still got a cabin up there. So,
My dad's
no,
from,
Duluth's come a long way.
okay, so it wasn't just me. My dad's from down in Eau Claire, and I always thought it wasn't very nice. But when I moved back to Minnesota, I went like, Eau Claire's pretty nice. Clean and affluent, look more into a little bit more commercial business rather than just tire manufacturing.
20 seconds, it's good.
Test, test.
Welcome to the Summer Showcase presented by USA Hockey. This is game 2 of the 11 games that will be played here in the next week at Ritter Arena on the University of Minnesota campus. The game you're about to watch is Team USA Blue against Team Sweden. Hi, everybody, and welcome to our broadcast. I'm Jim Rich along with John Conley. One game is in the books, where Team USA White defeated Team Finland 5-2. And John, you look at this one, and we've been going over the rosters of the Swedish team, and there's a lot of draft picks on this team, just like there is on the Americans.
Wow, you're not kidding. I'm hoping this game is half as good as the first one if you didn't join us for that. 5-2, not at all indicative of the gameplay. Finland had a lead 2-1 late second period, and credit USA for closing it out, but it was a great, evenly played hockey game, and we expect the same coming up. You mentioned Sweden. When I go through the roster, Sasha Boumadian is first-round pick of Winnipeg, and several second-round picks of other NHL teams, third-round picks dot this roster. So there's a lot of firepower out here in terms of NHL prospects, probably more than what we saw on the Finnish roster earlier. And not only that, the other thing that jumps out about this Swedish roster, Jim, they've got a lot of small players, a lot of 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", 6 players totally on the roster out of the forwards are that size. So they should be pretty quick, speedy compared to what we saw in the first game, where really size is the issue of the day.
Now, the U.S. has split. They have 42 players here, so they've split them into two teams, Team White and Team Blue. This game will have Team Blue in it, and there are some big names not playing this afternoon. Cole Eiserman will not play in this game this afternoon, and also Lane will also not partake in this, as they are dealing with what John Van Beesbrook, the general manager for USA Hockey, and this team says they're dealing with minor injuries, and so they want to be on the safe side of that. So those two will not be involved in this one, but he says they will play before this showcase concludes.
Yeah, Cole Eiserman, 20th pick of the 2024 NHL draft by the New York Islanders. He came and played a year in Minnesota. He played for Shattuck St. Mary's when he was 15 years old on a team and on a line with Macklin Celebrini, one of the top players in the Canadian pipeline, soon to be a superstar in the NHL. And what's interesting about Cole Eiserman, we're on campus here at the University of Minnesota. He's from a beautiful border town called Newburyport, Massachusetts, just north of Boston, and they're a waterfront town. It's a beautiful place. And he threw everybody a little head fake, Jim, when he committed to the University of Minnesota. And lo and behold, things changed over the subsequent years. But a near miss on a homecoming of sorts for Cole Eiserman, who wound up choosing to go to school in Boston versus Minnesota.
All right, the starting goaltenders for this tilt, the United States, they will go with Cam Hendrickson between the pipes. And Hendrickson is from Chanhassen, Minnesota, currently playing with the Waterloo Blackhawks in the USHL, is a Yukon commit, and so he'll get the start.
Yeah, Jim, that's actually Jack Parsons.
Oh, so they do it in the opposite again?
Yeah, it's all right. We'll talk about Cam quite a bit this game, but they're starting with Jack Parsons.
All right, I could give you Jack's particulars. He's the Chicago Steel and a Providence College commit. And
Lova Harenstam in goal for the Swedes.
So off the face-off, Swedes chase it down in their own zone. Frey feeds it across to the far side, and it's relayed in from center in a quick change, just a 25-second shift for that first line for the Swedes.
We had a busted twig a few seconds into the game. They'll have to avoid that little speed bump right on the zone entry for the U.S. middle of the rink.
Now Fernstrom at center, plays it by John Whipple, University of Minnesota defenseman. So he plays his home games just a few hundred yards from here over at Mariucci Arena. Americans quickly out to center. Across the line, long shot, steered away, rebound in behind, centered up the slot by L.J. Mooney. Comes all the way back down into the USA zone. Whipple puts it off the boards, and it's knocked in by Aiden Park.
And L.J. Mooney, really the only small forward for the United States. He's fun to watch. For those familiar with maybe the Utah Hockey Club, he's the cousin of a player that was a star for the Minnesota Golden Gophers, Logan Cooley.
Yeah, they talked a lot, and that was a big factor in Mooney's decision to commit to the Gophers. Talked to Logan a lot about that and said what a great time he had in just the one season he played here, but it was a memorable one as the Gophers, of course, came within an eyelash of winning a national championship, but lost in overtime down in Tampa. Now on the forecheck, the Americans. Keevan couldn't keep it in, and now back the other way. Bjork across the line, drops it off. Backhander off the outside of the net. Goes in behind. And now it's cleared back out to center. U.S. across the line. Conley turns as he gets to the corner. Tried to feed the point, but it was off the mark. And comes back out to center. Back in his own zone. Mo tips it in. Frey, though, gets to it first and feeds Zetterberg. Zetterberg to center. Tried to play it in. It was broken up at the blue line. Sweden will reset.
Zetterberg set to play his college hockey in Minnesota. He's transferring to what the locals call Mankato, but officially known as Minnesota State.
Now coming through center. Pettersson across the line. Broken up there. And Team USA comes back the other way.
Oh, what a
great feed. Backdoor trying to set up Lindbergh right at the goal line. Pass got through, but he steered it wide of the net.
Yep.
Now long shot. Parsons puts that to the corner.
Pettersson found Berglund lurking over on that weak side flank. Almost got one behind the goaltender, Jack Parsons. Just a beautiful feed from Lucas Peterson for the Three Crowns. There's a replay of it and a one-time shot saved by Parsons.
Aiden Park goes to the penalty box for high sticking.
Special teams key, obviously, in higher levels of play because you get so few scoring chances, and we did not see the U.S. capitalize on 2 power play chances. Finland did a good job with the penalty kill. We'll see if the U.S. can do the same against Sweden right now.
Off the draw, Sweden controls. Long shot wide of the target. Rebound controlled by the U.S., and they'll flip it back down ice. Now to the far side. Fernstrom gets it across the line. Zetterberg walks in, feeds it across, one-timer, and Parsons blocks that to the corner. As Fernstrom let it fly. Now Zetterberg puts it in front, quick shot, fluttered in the air. Parsons fought it off with a glove. Rebound hammered off the wall and all the way down.
Both teams opting for some fresh legs. Sweden brought 9 defensemen, Jim, to Minnesota for the week. None of them are right shot. All are left shot. So one of the things I'm watching for on the power play is where do they put the right shots? And when they do, we know that it's a forward that's been asked to come back. So they were using him as triggerman with a left-hand shot on the first unit, PP1, if you will. Now PP2 is out there, and we do see another left shot out on the umbrella tip. That is Victor Johansson.
Pad save by Parsons. Rebound to Bjork. He'll feed it down low. Centering pass comes through. Trying to thread it back in front, but that's intercepted, and the U.S. breaks back the other way. Drive into the net. Backhander right on as Ben Cleveland. The Arizona State commit had a good chance there, shorthanded.
Ben Keevan went through him like a ghost, and what a beautiful move. Had the backhand chance and kind of got in a little tight on top of Harnstam, who made the save, but the game's first scoring chance actually comes shorthanded for the USA.
Now Oaklist comes in, rolls it into the crease. USA back at full strength. Park out of the penalty box, and he personally will push it back out to neutral. So the Swedes with 5 shots on goal already. Few of them coming on that man advantage, but nothing was able to get by Mr. Parsons. 2 years Parsons spent at the National Team Development Program. Now a member of the Chicago Steel. But he'll be heading to Providence College in the near future. Swedes putting on good pressure, tying up the United States. Finally, it's cleared around. Rushevitz couldn't get it out. Big hit on the far wall, staggers one Swedish player. Now another Swedish player goes down, and that will result in a second straight trip to the penalty box for the U.S. Just killed one off. Now they're down again.
Jim, just an amazing start for the Three Crowns. We're 6.5 minutes into the game. They've had 1 power play. Now they've got a second. They've had a ton of zone time. Beautiful play there by Eddie Genborg holding the zone. Now they're going to go on a second power play. And the Team USA Blue did have a scoring chance shorthanded, but they're going to have a hard time if they can't find a way to get out of the zone more. So a big penalty kill upcoming for the red, white, and blue.
Mason Moe goes to the penalty box for interference. And so Frey will load it up again for Sweden. He dances across the neutral zone, fires it in from center. Picked up on the near side and reversed to the corner. Comes back to the blue line, Zetterberg. Frey, one-timer, blocked in front as it's tipped in behind. Harrington getting a stick on that. The Lincoln Stars defenseman, and then it's cleared all the way down.
And Mason Moe, playing for Madison, was playing on a team with Riker Lee. And in the first game, you and I both thought he was player of the game. So a couple great players there for the Madison Capitals. Split up for this game as the coaching staff looking to find pairings and chemistry that'll work in 6 months.
This is a good job so far, penalty killing, much better than the first power play where Sweden was able to set up. So far they've not been able to set up in the offensive zone through the first minute of this power play. Now Fernstrom at the point. Gets it across. Johnson, Wilson, Bernstrom's shot turned away, and the rebound clear to the line, not out. Zetterberg lets it go. It's deflected by Park and goes over the glass and out of play.
You mentioned Parsons playing the last couple years for the U.S. National Development Program. Of the 5 goaltenders here for the United States, he's the tallest, and early indications, we're 8 minutes into this game, is he's really making it look easy. And you see a goaltender that's under control in position. A lot of times they don't have to make the athletic, acrobatic saves. Parsons done a great job out of the gate. 6 saves early.
Off the draw, again, Sweden winning a lot of these offensive draws early in the game as we approach 8 minutes into the contest, and half of that time the U.S. has been shorthanded. Swinging back through, Johansson being watched by Spellacy. He'll drop it back. Carried in by Bjork, goes to the corner, brings it back near the blue line, feeds it across. Johnson puts it in front, backhander. Parsons makes the pad save with the trailing leg. Mo is out of the penalty box. The U.S. back to full strength once again. Pedersen feeds it across, wrist shot, deflects and goes out of play.
What a job locating Boumediene. He had come onto the ice fresh-legged after a player came off, and from the far bench, streaking into the zone, was making a beeline on that back post, and the puck carrier on our side did a great job finding him, got the pass on the tape, and another shot on goal. That's by Sasha Boumediene, and he's a first-round pick of Winnipeg in the last draft, headed to Boston University.
Viggo Gustafsson just went to the Swedish locker room. Went on his own, so maybe it's equipment or something. Didn't see any trainers go with him, but we'll see if he returns.
Gas station sushi when he got to town, who knows? But we'll keep an eye and see if he returns quickly.
Off the face-off, the Americans get it out to center, but Sweden turns it right back the other way. Shots heavily in favor of Sweden. They've got 7, the United States just 2, but as we've said, the U.S. has had to kill 2 penalties already in this hockey game.
So they're getting outshot 7-2. They had the 2 kills like you mentioned, but I guess the team's got to feel pretty good about being level 0-0, and now hopefully can get their feet under them, get a little more zone time, but the start has been mostly all Sweden.
Kivan trying to clear out one of the Swedish forwards. The linesmen separate them, and we'll have a face-off in the U.S. zone. Linus Eriksson on the draw for Sweden. Puck is dropped, and the U.S. controls. They clear it down ice, a race for it, and U.S. would get there first, so it's cleared away.
Yeah, they had McKinney going vertical, trying to get a stretch pass up behind the defenders, and he was almost fast enough to run it down. The pass just came in a little bit off angle.
McKinney, 53rd overall by the San Jose Sharks. Sweden keeping it. Oh, what a setup there. Blind backhand pass put right on the stick of Eriksson, and Parsons makes perhaps his best save of this opening period. And Sweden's really come to play.
Watch this back pass by Fernstrom on the replay. He hit Eriksson, as you mentioned, and on the doorstep. Real good scoring chance there. Nice save made. And again, Parsons is making it look easy. He's in position, and you don't have to move as much as a goaltender to make the save. So Parsons has to be feeling great. That's 10 saves in 10 minutes.
It's been an impressive start. I mean, yes, the 2 power plays helped, but the Swedes are really aggressive. They're shooting from anywhere, anytime they have an opportunity. They've been putting it on nest, testing Parsons. So I think the U.S. is going to talk about this. This ice cleaning comes at the right time, I think, for Team USA to kind of sort it out and figure out a different way to attack this Swedish club.
Yeah, 9:59 to go first period. U.S. has 2 shots to goal. One of them was the shorthanded rush, but other than that, they've had trouble getting any meaningful zone time. So credit the 3 Crowns. They've been outstanding, and we're still scoreless, but early indications favoring Sweden.
Viggo Bjork out there for the face-off. He wins it from Spellacy. But the U.S. picked it up in the corner, hammered around the wall, not out. As Harrington tried to clear. But Sweden very quick and getting the pucks to the front of the net. And again, a little pushing and shoving. Most of this contact after the whistle being initiated by the U.S. defenders.
And Viggo Bjork is the youngest player we'll see today. Most of these players are born in 2006 and 7. He's just 17 years old, born in 2008, and 74 points for his junior team last year in Sweden, even though he's playing against much older players, and a candidate to be a very high pick in the next draft. So remember the name Viggo Bjork, not just this year, but beyond, because he's one of the top players in the world his age.
Right back in is Bjork. Spun off the puck, but comes up with it down low, tries to drive the net, and it's pushed back in behind. Along the wall, they fight for it there. And Nielsen couldn't get it in deep. And finally, the Americans send it in. But Sweden, U.S. was defending that whole shift, so they had to switch once they got it into the offensive zone, and now the Swedes had an easy exit of their own zone. Quick shot there, blocked in the traffic. And Team USA comes back through center, trying to get it to Conley, but that was broken up. Conley with it at the red line. Had the puck hooked away from him. Mason Moe after it. He couldn't come up with it. And now the Swedes come through center. 8:20 to go here in the opening period. Scoreless despite the huge shot advantage for Sweden. Now standing at 11-2. And again, the U.S. defending. That one went over the glass, hit the glass, and so no penalty, but we'll have a face-off in the offensive zone, one of the few for USA Blue in this opening period.
Yeah, and I expect that to change. I think 60 minutes is certainly a long game, and we're probably about to see the U.S. catch fire. It's a strong unit. It wasn't like there was an A and a B team. They just divvied up the players, and we've got several players here that are returning from last year's World Junior, like Connolly and Kleber, and
offside.
Like you said, 4 of those minutes they were shorthanded. But where's the spark come from? What do they do? What's the catalyst to get them to start playing on the attack a little bit more? And this is where I'd be looking for the bigger name players on the team to step up, take the lead, and maybe make something happen. We've got a lot of early draft picks, including Trevor Conley, 19th pick of the Vegas Golden Knights, 2024, when the draft was actually held at Sphere in Las Vegas. So, keep an eye on maybe him and some of the other top-rated players here from the U.S. to maybe be the sparks to get something going, because they're clearly searching.
Well, this is what the coaching staff is also interested in seeing, is who steps up. This is why we're here for this tournament in the summer, is because they're looking to see who will be part of the red, white, and blue when the World Junior Championship comes to Minnesota, and will be at the XL Energy Center and right next door at Mariucci Arena. And this is what you want to see, some adversity for a club to see how they respond and who steps up in that leadership role.
And just going back to the earlier game, the U.S. scored, and it was a couple seconds later, Finland scored, and then they answered back with another one, had a 2-1 lead. And, you know, the ability to respond when challenged is so important in sports. And, you know, when we do see the game's first goal, how you bounce back is important.
Especially in a tournament like this, because the games come so quickly. You have little time to sulk about things. You have to respond to problems that happen nightly, in a period, in a shift. And that's why the Americans have been so good, winning the last 2 gold medals in the World Juniors and 7 since 2004, is because this team has been able to respond to adversity. Now here's Spellacy on his backhand, rolls it into the crease. It's still loose. They let him fight for it, and now it's taken to the corner, and the Swedes are able to get it back out to center. Spellacy with a good chance there for the Americans.
And a nice play. There was a loose puck, as you mentioned. It's Fernstrom that came in and quickly took it to the sideboards and ultimately was able to break out up the wall through Genborg. So good recovery there by Sweden, but another good chance for the U.S. They've had a couple.
Now carrying it to center, Wolfquist carries in deep again, throws it off the side of the net to flex out front. U.S. clears to the corner, but not out. And finally it is pushed out to neutral with 6:05 to go here in the opening period. Long shot in, comes right to the side of the net. Parsons had to be alert there to keep it in behind. Now cleared around to the near side. Held in there along the wall. Fighting for it is Nielsen. Comes back to Johansson. He'll throw it to the net, and Parsons calmly fields that, and he'll take the face-off with about 5.5 left in this opening period.
I'm very impressed with Parsons. Calmly is the word. He just makes it look so easy. He's in position, and if Sweden's going to get a goal, they're going to have to find ways to maybe get some misdirection, maybe deflect a shot with redirection, or maybe get in there and pounce on a rebound before he can cover. But so far, he has made 12 and has looked, you know, pretty calm in the process.
Johansson back to get it for the Swedes. Zellers flushes him out. Nielsen across the line, tries to go cross ice. That misfired. On the backside, Bjork puts it in behind, but the United States takes over, but they can't clear. Turnover, Nielsen point blank, and Parsons stops him as he tried to go on the blocker side. Now Nielsen rolls it in front. Sprawling is Parsons, and it was partially blocked before Bjork had a chance to push it into the open net.
What a shift for Viggo Bjork. He did get a piece of that shot there, as you mentioned, didn't get through.
Now Nielsen's shot deflected by Whipple, deflects over the glass and out of play.
Viggo Bjork, the youngest player in the game, started with the breakout down in his own end. He curled as a center. Coaches might call it puck support, but it's simply getting into a position where you are available for an easy pass. And it's not an accident for someone to have the timing and always be there in the right spot. Is real good hockey sense, knowing when to slow up, when to slow down, when to speed up. And Viggo Bjork showing us why he's one of the top prospects in the world with a great shift there, both ends of the ice.
Sweden's been winning a lot of face-offs in this opening period. Lindbergh won that, but now the U.S. comes back. Driving right to the net. Backhander, save is made. And the rebound sent all the way down. This will be an icing call.
What a play by Alphonse Frey. There was a beautiful save. He's made a couple by Alova Harenstam. And Franz, well, he did ice the puck, Frey recognized, I got to clear this out, and immediately found an open path, sent it to the wall and all the way down.
4:23 left. Quick shot right off the draw. Save is made, and we'll do it again.
Yeah, nice face-off win there, and a Good look from Bednarik. Got a shot into the mitts and a glove save by Lova Harenstam.
McKinney on this face-off won the last one and wins another. Sent towards the net by Skaon. Out to center, and it's pushed in there.
Nice play by Emery. We talked a lot about it in the first game. The U.S. has a style of play where the defense are trained even more so than normal to take players before they enter the zone and greet them at the blue line. And E.J. Emery standing him up right on zone entry, and that's a hallmark of USA hockey defense.
First round pick of the New York Rangers is Mr. Emery, currently at the University of North Dakota. And his first foray into college hockey wasn't, I think, offensively what he'd been hoping for, as he had only 1 point all season long. He got an assist in the very first game he played, and then nothing the rest of the way. But his future is very bright, and none of the Rangers brass are concerned about his lack of offensive firepower at this point.
Yeah, some of those high talent players get off to a slow start in college, and no better example of that than the Iceman. Isaac Howard up at Duluth was not in a featured role, transferred, and
delayed
became
penalty
the Hobie
on
Baker.
Sweden as the U.S. comes sailing in. Ending the offensive zone, extra attacker on. Mooney brings it back to the point. Rushevitz, high slot. Almost fired it, now does, and it deflected off the traffic, and finally Sweden gets the touch and the penalty. Sorry to interrupt your Isaac Howard story,
No,
but
that's it. Yeah, we had the delayed penalty.
Wanted in there.
But yeah, the Iceman, hockey hero, did such a great job playing for Team USA and winning a Hobie Baker at Michigan State. But he started at a different college and needed to transfer to find the right fit. So the U.S. with their first power play of the game, and they need it.
Now Osborne with it, feeds it across, quick shot, turned away as Zellers fired from that far circle. Now Conley carries to the corner. U.S.'s first chance on the power play. Osborne lets it go through traffic, rebound, and a big save on Park right on the doorstep. As Park got that rebound, Conley now gets it back to the point. Another shot wide of the target. Conley brings it back to the blue line, but didn't get much on his pass, and Bjork intercepts and clears it down.
Wow, what a sprawl. Beautiful stretch for Harnstam to make the save, denying Park a very good scoring chance on the rebound.
Now Zellers busting right in, goes to the net, and he didn't able to finish the way he wanted. It went off the heel of his stick, and it was turned aside, but a great pass sprung Will Zellers, third-round pick of the Colorado Avalanche, had a chance to give the United States the lead.
Yeah, beautiful stretch pass, and Zellers finding a way to get behind enemy lines. Came in unchecked.
Now Moe brings it back to the near point. Rushevitz feeds it across. Wrist shot goes high over the top of the net. Comes back to the point. Harrington settles it down. Rushevitz dishes off. Rushevitz one-timer blocked. Rebound controlled. McKinney drops it off on the far side. Back near the blue line. Again, the shot doesn't get through. Big block in front. Rebound still loose in front. Another whack at it. Moe couldn't get it to go. Huge block there as Berglund went down in front of that one time. He blocks a second one, does Berglund. Two big blocks, then a hit from behind, and that is going to be at least two, and more than likely could be a major penalty, as getting flattened in the corner was Caden Harrington.
the 4th-round pick of the LA Kings, who's back up on his skates.
A lot going on there in a short period of time. The number one way to get the respect of your teammates once you hit the teenage years and beyond is to put your body on the line and block shots. And you had 2 huge blocks there for Berglund. Jack Berglund, crash test dummy. And right around that time, you had the hit along the wall. And as you mentioned, it's a pretty rough call, but they go with a minor penalty, just 2 minutes.
Well, you never know quite how they call it in international plays. You got a chance to look at the replay there. So the second chance on the power play for the United States here. Under a minute to go in this first period. Off the draw, U.S. controls. Osborne with it, drops it off. Conley across the box, fanning on it though on the far side. Now a second opportunity by Zellers. That was blocked. Swedes have blocked a lot of shots here while being shorthanded. Conley with it. Walks to the circle, tries to go across to Zellers. That hit a leg, and that allows the Swedes to clear. 25 seconds left to go in the period. U.S. coming across line. Conley cross-check to the ice, but he gets it to Zellers. Zellers, though, then turns it over, and it's cleared all the way down by Wallerness. And that should just about do it for this opening period. 8 seconds left. Zellers gets across the line. U.S. trying for one last shot, and it was taken and ripped wide. And that is the conclusion of the first 20 minutes. Shots in that first period favored Sweden as they outshot the U.S. 14-9 in that opening period. Both teams with power play opportunities, and the U.S. still will have 1:03 left on their power play when the second period starts. But overall, pretty entertaining 20 minutes, but not surprised after what we witnessed in game one this afternoon.
Yeah, I think the first game we saw was a lot more of an even gameplay and back and forth flow throughout. This one was a long stretch of zone time for Sweden, and you kind of had a feeling, you know, the U.S. wasn't going to go away, and eventually they'd maybe right the ship. And 2 power plays helped. We've got 1:03 overhanging into period 2, but it was really when they got on that first power play that things started looking up. But for a lot of block shots, the U.S. might have had a goal because credit the box play in particular. It was it Berglund went out and blocked a lot of shots there that didn't even make their way to Harnstam, and he's played well. Clean sheet for him, 9 saves, and in the other net, Parsons with 14, so a scoreless first.
Yeah, shots were 11-2 at one point in favor of Sweden, and then the United States went on a 7-2 run to close that period out. And as you said, they were aided by those 2 chances at the power play the United States had in that opening period. So we're through 20 minutes, and we will be back with period 2.
And I've got a funny story for our Swedish viewers.
All right.
I've announced his brother a lot, and I always share this at one point during the game. There's a player for the United States, a defenseman, John Whipple. And Jim, would you know, at the late 70s, when they do those things like, hey, do you recognize this person? So it's in the U.S., sometimes they call it a Q rating. Your recognizability, the most recognizable American test, the number one, I can't remember if it was Muhammad Ali or the president, Jimmy Carter or somebody, but the number 2 most recognizable American, and this is hopefully something the Swedes will find funny, was Mr. Whipple. And Mr. Whipple was a character on an ad campaign that ran for years for toilet paper. So anyway, that's a funny one for our Swedish viewers. And a fictional person character, Mr. Whipple, was at one point
He's
the
fictional?
second most. Well, there was an actor playing Mr. Whipple, and we won't bore you with the storylines. But anyway, so just a funny one for our Swedish viewers about. And I know your commercials are on a whole better than our North American commercials, but I just always think that's funny when I see the name John Whipple, and he's got a brother that plays as well. Because funny story about recognizability in the United States.
All right, that will do it for the opening period. And don't forget, the World Junior Championship will be here in the Twin Cities starting the day after Christmas, December 26th. And games will be played at Mariucci Arena and at the XL Energy Center in St. Paul. We'll be back in a bit. Scoreless after 20 between Sweden and USA Blue. Welcome back to Ritter Arena on the University of Minnesota campus as we await the start of period number 2 between the United States, the blue squad stepping back onto the ice, facing Team Sweden. Jim Rich here along with John Conley. And the opening period saw both teams getting 2 chances on the power play. The United States will have a minute 3 of their second power play when the second period starts. Shots 14-9 in favor of Team Sweden.
Yeah, first period scoring summary.
Go ahead.
I always do it when there's no scoring. So, yeah, we had a scoreless first period. There were very few shots to goal for the U.S. in the first half of the period, but there was a good shorthanded chance. Then at the end of the period, back-to-back power play opportunities. They had some shots to goal and a few good scoring chances. But so far, Lova Harenstam has solved all 9. He has a clean sheet. And on the other end, it was pretty consistent throughout the first 15 minutes of the game that Sweden had a lot of zone time. They had 10 shots, 10 minutes in, and a real good goaltending performance from Jack Parsons. I think you'd say there were a few scoring chances in there out of the shots. They weren't low-grade shots. And nonetheless, we're scoreless headed to 2, and I think the pace is going to pick up a little bit in period 2.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Both teams had really moments of play where they dominated the action. The power plays aided both teams. Sweden had the upper hand for the first 10, 12 minutes, but then the United States answered, controlling play and the scoring opportunities in the final 8 of that opening period. U.S. now trying to break through here on the power play. Park at the blue line tried to slip it back, but Osborne wasn't in position. Now Zeller's busting down the slot. Takes the shot, gets blocked, rebound is picked up and cleared all the way down.
Yeah, I liked Zeller's play there. Sometimes you want to shoot quickly before the goaltender gets set, but he knew the goaltender was looking right at him, so he took his time trying to find a way to get a little bit of a cleaner look and get the goalie confused, and didn't quite work, but you could see what he was working on.
Banged off the side of the net by Bednarik, and it was cleared down. So 2 good chances in the final seconds of this power play for the Americans. Zeller's in on both of them.
Real good chance there. I thought it was going in.
Sweden back at full strength. And so both teams 0 for 2 with the extra man in this game this afternoon. Sweden now at full strength, gets across the line. Played in deep. Nielsen tied up there as Kleber ties him up. Now across to the far side. Good block there. As
John Whipple.
Was that Johnny Whipple with the block? It was.
Yeah.
Number 3.
A little slow to get up, but he realized he better start skating for that puck, so I'm guessing it didn't hit him in the ankle, but he is going to go off. Took that puck hard, and we've seen a lot of pride in play defensively, a lot of shot blocking both ways.
Now the United States, Mo had it, was spun around and couldn't get the shot off, and caught a stick in the midsection, and he goes to the bench.
And Mo, a local, he went to high school in Eden Prairie, and that's about 25 minutes from here. Saw some of his high school classmates between games that had got here early to come see him play. So Mason Mo, a little bit of an extra fan base in the crowd.
Centering pass comes right through the slot as they're trying to set up Epperson out in front. And now it's taken away and cleared back out. Sweden at center. Rolls it in from there. Almost a bad pass. Allows Sweden, though, to keep it in the offensive zone.
Oh, that was close.
Emery's shot, loose puck in front, and it's cleared out. Sweden getting some good looks here.
And Spellacy just missing that deflection by about 6 inches. He may have been off to the races with a breakaway. That was a dangerous pass for Team Sweden.
Now Berglund gets it along the wall to Bjork. Centering pass broken up, and it's chipped off the wall. Harrington plays it ahead, spun around there, and now back the other way. Pettersson across the line. Saucers it in front. Shot ripped wide. Right on the doorstep. Great chance for Bjork, Wilson Bjork, but he whipped it wide to the open side of the net.
He whipped it wide, and Jimmy almost got his own rebound. That would have been a
back.
bang goal, and it just slid past him. But, now we're calling Wilson's name. His younger brother, Vico Bjork, had that great first period.
Offside are the Swedes at the blue line.
So, I love music, and I always make the joke when it's the start of a season and I'm announcing a game. Yeah, almost got that rebound. It's all the same, only the names have changed. That's a Bon Jovi lyric. And,
sure.
You go to the Gophers and the players turn over, and it's all the same, only the names have changed. You can't say that about Sweden. You go up and down the roster, Pettersson, Eriksson, Ekberg, Berglund, Zetterberg. Like, they just have fewer surnames. Gustafsson, Eliasson, Johansson. So, yeah, it's all the same. Only the names didn't change, just different players. And coming in year to year for the Three Crowns.
Centering pass comes right out front, but getting his stick broken was Zellers, so he couldn't do much with that feed. And now the puck ends up in the corner and shoveled up the wall and pushed out to center by Sweden. Eriksson rolls it in front. That was broken up. And now long lead pass for Park out of his reach, and icing is called against Team USA. And shots are now 17-9 in favor of Sweden after that flurry. So they've had 5 shots to none so far for the U.S. And the U.S. had a minute 3 of power play to start the period.
Yeah, so Sweden came out to try to kill what was left on the board. And then the last 3 minutes, they've had a lot of zone time and creating some good scoring chances. So, if it's a boxing match and you pick a winner by decision, if there's no score, clearly Sweden has had the better of the gameplay the first 25 minutes.
Off the face-off, Whipple controls for the U.S., works it ahead. Park now across the line. Tried to float it ahead to McKinney. It was chopped away from him and back down ice. Now a race the other way. And here's a shot right on, and the save is made. There's a good opportunity there. Parsons, though, comes out to make the save as Sweden showing their speed there, getting to that loose puck first.
Yeah, Ivar Stenberg saw the loose puck and took off and created the separation before we could get recovery from Bruce Shevitz. And as we've seen, though, Jim, one of the things about these rushes is a lot of times they're picking up a puck in close, both games on top of the goaltender. And goaltenders at this level are all pretty big. Not a lot of daylight to shoot at.
Yeah, they do take up a lot of real estate. But the Swedes break through on a long shot from the point, deflected right in front, up under the bar.
Ivar Stenberg
Sweden has the lead.
It's that old adage, if you do the work, you might get payoff. And he didn't score when he won that race, but they come off the draw. The puck pulled back to the point. Watch Stenberg on the tip. Got a piece of it. And it is Stenberg with the redirect. And that's how you're going to score against these big goalies. Parsons, no chance on the redirect. Ivar Stenberg puts Sweden on top 1-0.
So the U.S. has to come from behind. .506 time of the first goal here in the second period. And Sasha Boumediene gets the assist as he let that shot go from the blue line. And it was tipped out front by Stenberg.
And I think they had Nielsen might have won the draw. So Nielsen to 19-5 to 15. So Eric Nielsen, second round pick of Anaheim. wins the draw. Shot comes from the blue line. First round pick from Winnipeg, Sasha Boumediene. And the tip from the, I believe, undrafted Ivar Stenberg. A little bit smaller in the last NHL draft. The tendency is pretty clear. They're looking for the bigger players, and the Sweden roster has a lot of small forwards. But you saw a couple great plays on that shift from Stenberg to get the goal.
Keevan got hit up high. He's back up on his skates, but is looking as he labors his way to the bench after getting caught, not seeing that Swedish defender moving in. So Mooney throws a hit in the corner. That's broken up. Back to get it is Emery. He'll wind it around to the far side. And now the United States comes back. Emery comes across the line, lets it go. Save was made, rebound. On the far wall, Connolly double teamed there. And the Swedes take over, and they'll fire it out to Pettersson. Cross the line, looks for help, feeds it across. Shot just missed. He had a corner up there, did Frey, and it just sailed wide of the post.
And Jim and I have the best angle, so we saw that was just a razor's edge off the post. What a clean look from Fry, and did not miss by much.
Now Connolly in trouble on the far side. Loses control in behind. Centering pass, quick shot. Parsons a save, that time on Pettersson. Sweden really getting some good looks in close here against the U.S. Shots are now 20-11 in favor of Sweden.
And were we 12-9 at period break? So 8-2 for the period?
It was 14-5, 14-9.
14-9, so 6-2 for the period. That's the third busted twig. I hope the equipment managers for these teams brought several with 11 games and a lot of practices while they're here. You know, you and I saw the game schedule. I think every team's practicing in the morning before the game. So going to go through a lot of sticks at this rate.
I think they got the budget to cover it, though.
They have the budget, but
it's not the lower level.
If they didn't bring them, they're going to wind up over at, I don't even know what the retailers are anymore. Pure Hockey's in town, I think. We'll go get the replacements.
There's plenty of places I think you can find hockey sticks. This is one of the better cities to have to go search for one. Shouldn't take you long.
Absolutely.
Approaching the halfway point of the game. Sweden leading it 1-0 on Stenberg's deflection.
So long time no whistle, and we are in the second period, so be mindful. This is the long change, if you will, and U.S. kind of caught right now down in their own end. Hard to get players off. They may be getting tired, and Sweden keeps sending one at a time over the board, so might catch up to them. It's been a couple minutes since a whistle. Wouldn't be surprised if they take the icing here.
Now the U.S. dumps it ahead. Bruschetta across the line, and they are offside at the Swedish blue line, so that will give us a chance. And now the goaltender switch for the United States. Jack Parsons is done. Certainly did a heck of a job, stopping 19 of 20.
And that was a big relief for the U.S. to get the whistle there. And Jim, if he were a snowboarder or a skateboarder, they would call him Goofy. This is Cam Hendrickson. He is the rare right catching goaltender. So the U.S. brought 5, 4 of them holding the stick with their right hand, catching left. Cam's flipped, and that's just a little bit different thing to look at for the shooters. So something to keep in mind as you look at Cam Hendrickson. He catches with his right.
And now Ebsen flips it ahead. That's broken up. Mooney, though, keeps it alive, who will be playing hockey here at the University of Minnesota. One of the littlest players you're talking about. Yo! Mooney threw it right in front, and swinging and missing was one of his teammates who was parked right on the doorstep. Had a great chance to finish it, but I think that was Zellers that missed out front.
And the puck was on edge, and he couldn't quite deliver a flat pass, and it came in a little high, so the swing and a miss as a result. But what a good setup. They were in the right position for a quick shot before the goaltender could adjust.
Back in comes the U.S. centering feed. And tied up was Zedberg. Now another shot block. Mo, the second opportunity. That didn't get through. Mo still after it. And the U.S. putting on some pressure here. Park now tied up on the far wall. And Sweden turns it the other way. Coming back in. Monster hit on the far wall. Big check by Skahan, who stepped up. 6'5", 215 is the Boston College Eagle. And he was taken 65th overall by the Utah Mammoth. And it's a perfect adjective for the franchise he'll be playing for, hopefully one day. He is Mammoth.
That was a big boy hit by a big boy. Sometimes you see some, average-sized player with some momentum lay a big hit, but boy, he pasted him up against the boards.
Now back in are the Swedes again. Gronberg trying to chop it towards the front of the net. Back to the point. And Hendrickson makes his first save of the afternoon. Coming in here halfway through the hockey game. Now McKinney across the line. Drops it back. Shot right on. The save is made at that end. And Armstrom's still in there for Sweden. They've yet to switch goalkeepers, and maybe they will stay with the same netminder the whole night since they don't have 5 to figure out.
They brought 3, it looks like, and that was a beautiful save by Harnstam that they had to go post to post and got into position, made it an easy save. Wasn't an easy save, but he made it look easy.
Now, quick shot, deflects wide as Frey let it go. Frey with it again, quickly moves it to the near side. Magnuson, his backboards pass comes off to the side of the net. And now Emery getting into it along the back wall. And the linesmen have to separate them. And we'll get a whistle. And a face-off. And we will do some shoveling here. No TV timeouts. So the closest whistle we get to the halfway point in the period, the crew comes out and removes the excess snow. And we will resume action momentarily.
It's still 1-0 Sweden, looking for some signs of life from the U.S., trying to create some scoring chances. They've had them at times, but add it all up, and they are getting outshot 21-13. And I do think that's indicative of the game we've seen so far. Now, Cam Hendrickson, he's a little bit cold. You see him trying to work on some positioning and working on some glove motions while the players are waiting for the snow to be removed. And face-off coming in the U.S. And one of the things I think was a little bit more noticeable in the first game is who was winning the draws. I think, Jim, this game's had a lot fewer face-offs. Seems like we've had some long stretches without as much stop and go. Game flows maybe been a little bit open at times. So in the center spot, I didn't see a whole lot yet this period, but that first period was phenomenal for Viggo Bjork.
He's out there now to take this face-off. Against Aiden Park. And the draw was won by Bjork. Sweden keeping it in the offensive zone momentarily. Kicked ahead, but not out. Swedes with a possible 2-on-1 down low, but a good stick there. Knocked that puck to the corner. Nielsen with it. Gets it over to the far side. Long shot deflects and goes out of play. Whipple with the good stick there to break up a 2-on-1 down low. And then he deflects a shot over the glass and out of play.
Yeah, that was a great active stick from Whipple to deflect the pass. There was some real nice play in tight quarters, and had that pass slid through, would have been a real good chance to drag it around the goaltender for Sweden to double up on the lead.
A.J. Spellacy on this face-off against Lindbergh. And the U.S. will come away with it. Chopped up the wall and out by Eberson. Swedes back to retrieve. Stolen away down low as Kevon gets it around to the near side. Swedes, though, quickly come back the other way through center. Edberg runs into traffic, but then gets through. But he's caught from behind. Great job by Kleber to come from behind. The UMD Bulldog defenseman now lugs it out to center. Gets across the blue line. Carries in behind. Rolls it in front. Tried to connect there with Kevon rather. Long shot, fought off at the last second by the glove and deflects to the corner. U.S. getting some looks here now. Still being outshot by 7, 21-14. Fed back to the point. Walking in, taking a look, Kevon rather. Put it in front, it's intercepted and cleared back out. Both teams making changes. And that pass gets deflected, goes off the netting and out of play with 5:55 to go here in period number 2.
Another long shift, and in the middle of it, I thought it might have been Lindbergh, 28, but it could have been 29. Zetterberg was having trouble making out the number. It was a forward trying to break out in his own end, and he started skating with the puck and then got pinched. Fearless, he took it right in front of his own goal through the blue crease, and hounded by some forechecking pressure, managed to stick handle out of traffic and eventually at least get away from the goal. Unable to clear the zone cleanly, but we are starting to see a lot of pressure here late in the second period from the U.S. as they try to find the equalizer. Emery goes rink wide with it on the bounce. Conley dumps in.
5:45 to go here in the second. And again, sent down. This Swedish team, I'm very impressed with how fast they are, how disciplined they are, how, they're not letting the U.S. get good chances. Their best chances come off a scramble or a beautiful pass like that. How about that? That answers that. And we're tied at 1.
Hometown hero Mason Moe. Quick pull trigger, fires it in before the goaltender could get adjusted across. And we are tied. Oh, it wasn't 20. It was 29 Osborne. That is Luke Osborne that got free over on the flank and drifting in the defenseman. No doubter sends that one through tickling twine. And you see a couple replays there. And goaltender couldn't quite get over in time. Harnstom's been great so far. But that one gets through. A goal by number 29, Luke Osborne.
What a shot that was, and what a pass. Just when I was complimenting Sweden on how structured they've been and how they haven't broken down, those passes went right through the heart of the Swedish defense from one side of the rink to the other. And Osborne was able to bury that one on a great feed. Now the U.S. back again, a one-timer right on by Zellers. And the save is made and held on to. But the U.S. getting another glorious opportunity here.
Well, you aren't going to get any argument from me or anybody that's watched the game to this point, because Sweden has been the better team up till this point, and now they no longer have the lead. We're tied 1-1. USA has some momentum, and it shapes up to be a pretty exciting conclusion. We've got 5 minutes left in this period and then the third, so things are heating up here at Ritter Arena on campus at the University of Minnesota.
Mooney the assist, and that's what Mooney does. I mean, you look at his numbers of what Mooney has done. He's going to come here to the University of Minnesota. He went in the 4th round to Montreal, and it isn't because of the skill that he possessed or is in a lack of. It's the lack of size that a lot of NHLers backed off on. But he is such a great setup man. At the when he was on the U.S. National U18 team this past season, 10 goals, 41 assists. So he's the guy that you'd love to have on your line. But at 5'8", a lot of the NHL teams are worried that his game may not transfer to the next level. But he said, Mooney, that I've dealt with that my whole life, and I've proved people wrong all the way up, and he continues to do that.
And not only 5'8", he's 157, so he's not a thick build like Marty St. Louis, pretty solid body, even though he's about 5'6". And you nailed it. The pendulum has swung for a while. It was fine to be a little undersized in hockey, even defensemen getting drafted that are sub 6 foot or sub 5'10". But right now, the way the draft has played out the last couple years, there is an emphasis on size. My speculation is it has a lot to do with the difference between an NHL season and the NHL playoff hockey. There have been some very large teams that have had postseason success, and other teams trying to emulate that with their pipeline. But E.J. Mooney with a great assist there, and now the U.S. is tied.
And there you see Park going to the bench. He caught a stick up high, it looks like, and is going to get some stitches.
It's interesting.
To the locker room. Go
it's
ahead.
interesting you mentioned that because you announced a lot of college hockey where players are wearing cages, and I was just thinking how many of these college players playing, mostly U.S., but even some from Sweden, are out there with the half, just the visor, and that is leaving everything below the nose exposed.
Don't know if it was friendly fire. There wasn't a penalty on the play, so I'm assuming either it was an inadvertent stick or a follow-through or one of his own teammates caught him. So Park is gone for some repairs here in the second half of this second period. Now Spellacy doing some board work to get it out. Magnuson, though, will drive it right back in for Sweden. Hendrickson sets it up in behind. Played around the wall. Zellers tied up. Swedes force the U.S. to retreat. Now they'll come out to center. Across the line, Zellers centering pass. Goes in behind. Kevon, his pass deflected. Comes back out to neutral. Kleberg drops it. That's a stick up high. And fortunately, the shield was there. Harrington got it off the top of his head. Delayed penalty coming up on Sweden. Puck tied up along the end boards. The Swedes touch. And now they will be shorthanded for the third time here this afternoon.
Yeah, that's Ekberg with a high stick. It's clearly an inadvertent stick pursuing the puck, but you're responsible for controlling your stick, and he caught him up in the grill. So Ekberg goes off, and right here he's, bringing his stick back to the ice. He hit him in the face. So U.S. with some momentum now has a power play late in the second period. 1-1 the score. We got 3:14 to go, and power play unit coming out.
Oh, big chance here for the Americans in the late stages of this period.
So Kamil Bednarik is in the spot. I see Zellers and Connolly out with him. Across the blue line is Luke Osborne, and kind of in front of the goal net front presence, another forward, I believe that's Cole McKinney. So 4 forwards and just 1 defenseman, Luke Osborne, out right now.
And Osborne with the puck, gives to Zellers. Drops it to Conley. On his backhand, drives it in, cuts to the forehand, cuts right through the crease. Puck is loose, they bang away at it. Clearing attempt, hits a leg, comes to the line, not out. Osborne keeps it alive. Now lets it go. Stick save, rebound is loose and then covered and held for the faceoff with 2:42 left.
I love what I'm seeing on the power play for the U.S. There's a lot of overlapping, and in the process, it's really difficult for those 4 defenders to figure out, do I stay in a passive box or do I come out and challenge? And if I challenge, do I switch with my man who's skating? So a lot of misdirection being tried here by the U.S. on that power play unit. And it looks like the same 5 stay out. So same power play unit with 1:28 remaining in the man advantage.
Well, Osborne getting that shot. He has the goal, and no surprising. He last year was the USHL Defenseman of the Year. Loose puck, and the officials don't blow it until late. The net gets dislodged. No signal for a goal.
Except from Zellers. Except from Zellers, who's celebrating the goal.
So we will see. Let's see what we can see on this replay.
Yeah, the net gets knocked. I don't think the puck crossed, but Zellers at least was trying to, what do they call that in baseball? Frame the pitch.
Correct.
Trying to sell the officials that maybe it did go in, and he had the worst view of all. He was standing out on the blue line, but yeah, it's interesting to see what you use for personnel on a power play. A lot of times it's one defenseman and 4 forwards, and we are seeing that right now from the U.S. And you mentioned Osborne in his success in the USHL. He stays out, and they've already been out 41 seconds, so this group's being given a lot of time as a unit to do some damage on the power play.
Osborne played at the Youngstown team. He's going to the University of Wisconsin, and had 10 goals, 31 assists last year. And as we said, was the USHL Defenseman of the Year. Now comes screaming in as Conley, backhander right on. McKinney, after the rebound on the far side, brings it back to the point. Conley with it. Takes a look. Now fires right on. Rebound shoveled away and cleared all the way down. And that'll allow Sweden to take some of the pressure off. Good looks, though, on this power play for the United States. 35 seconds left. Coming in. Osborne knocked to the ice. Mooney picks it up, drives the net. Tried to go upstairs, but that's shouldered away. Now Brushevitz plays it across, gets the return pass. In the slot, Mooney takes it off the glove, and quick whistle, and the official says right on his, goes, yeah, my bad. I thought he had it in the glove. It came right back out, quick whistle, and we'll get the face-off.
Loba Harenstam has really recovered nicely after giving up the only goal he's given up. And there was a shot there that preceded the replay you're seeing. He was looking right at the shooter, but I don't think he could see anything because the shot came through a screener, and using one of those American forwards forechecking as a screen, shot came between the legs. Somehow he made the save and quickly controlled the rebound. So Harenstam playing really well here late. Penalty kill situation.
Mooney wires one across. Quick shot goes wide. And you can see the talents that Mooney possesses. How quick he wires that pass and puts it right in the wheelhouse of the intended shooter. That was Harrington he was trying to set up on that far side.
There's an expression that the goaltender is sometimes your best penalty killer, and that's certainly right now with Harenstam. And noticeable, for the first time today, the U.S. has taken a lead on the shot board.
23-22. Penalty time is over. Sweden has weathered the storm. Bouncing puck at the side of the net. But the U.S. couldn't knock it home as Keevan was right on the doorstep. Now Keevan down low, drops it back. Mooney scores! Mooney buries it in the top corner, and the U.S. leads 2-1.
That is one for the highlight reel, because not only was it a beautiful feed and a rising wrister top corner, the puck got lodged in the net and didn't come down. And what a beautiful goal. You had a feeling with all this pressure late from the power play that the U.S. was maybe on the verge of taking a lead. Technically an even strength goal, but kind of that overhang, that hangover period just after the power play ended. And what a nice rising wrister. Got it up high and just inside that upper 90.
That was a crazily placed shot right in the top corner for Mooney.
First of many for Jim Rich, calling a E.J. Mooney goal, right?
Yeah, that would be a delightful thing to do. The West Mifflin, Pennsylvania native has given the U.S. the lead here.
And Jim will get a chance with the Minnesota Gophers winter season. And Mooney making him pay. Didn't need a lot of daylight and fired that shot just inside the pipes.
61 seconds left in the period. That goal, big momentum for Team USA. Berglund now back the other way. Loses an edge, goes down hard in the corner. U.S. trying to clear. Nielsen, though, gains control. His cross-ice pass partially deflected. Now long shot goes off the glass and behind. Tripped up is Spellacy, and that'll be another penalty on Sweden as Berglund will go. Berglund not happy, feeling that Spellacy may have sold it. And we'll see what happens here, but this will be the third chance for the United States with the extra man.
Yeah, a replay of the event, and you could see the Swedes' case. Berglund saying, I'm just stronger, and was trying to win the puck, and he couldn't hang with me. The Stripes see it different, and the U.S. goes back on another power play.
So, too bad there's only 30 seconds left in the period with all the momentum the United States has built up here. They would love to have the full 2 minutes here, but if they don't score in this 31, it'll carry over into period 3. Off the draw, U.S. controls. Bottom of the circle, centering feed in front. It goes off the mask. It fluttered up as Bednarik let the shot go, but it was partially blocked and bounced off the head of the Swedish goaltender and then cleared. Now, Hendrickson trying to clear it himself. Another hook up high.
Stenberg got away with one there.
Conley slid right to the referee saying, hey, you got to call that one. But the period comes to a conclusion, and a wildly entertaining period. It was scoreless after one. Ivar Stenberg gave Sweden the lead on this deflection. And then on the power play, the United States, well, not on the power play, but it seemed like it. It came right at the conclusion. Osborne with that shot from Mooney at 14:32. And then L.J. Mooney late in the period, just 61 seconds left in the period, put one up under the bar high on the stick side to give the Americans a 2-1 lead through 40 minutes. Shots are now 26-22 in favor of the U.S. And so Sweden had 8 shots in that second period. Well, the United States, had what, 14?
And those 8 mostly came early, so the game's clearly taken a turn, aided by the power play time that the United States has enjoyed. So with a minute 29 of overhang, they'll start the third. And now this Sweden team that I think we both felt, I don't want to speak for you out of turn, but I think we both felt had the better of the gameplay through the first, and with a 1-0 lead, was really looking pretty good in the early going in the second. And now they've got their backs against the wall. It'll be interesting to see if they can kill this penalty and find a way to claw back and tie the game.
You can speak for me anytime you like.
I don't want to speak out of turn. And,
I'll go right ahead. I don't have a problem with that.
All right.
Shots were 16-8 in favor of the U.S. in that second period after being outshot 14-9 in the first. Shots are now 26-22 in favor of Team USA. This is the second team. Team White was victorious, 5-2 over Finland. That game was previously here at Ritter Arena. And this is Team Blue going against Sweden. So both teams have been shorthanded 3 times. The U.S. has killed off all 3, and Sweden's in the process of trying to kill off the third. That will carry over into this final period. So we are sitting here, 2-1, the Americans lead. Any more thoughts before we take a quick break and let everybody reset, get to the refrigerator, pop some popcorn, and get set for the final 20?
The only thing I wanted to add to this is we saw some players in that earlier game that were clearly standing up by the end. I think, we agreed on who for each team it really stood out and impressed us. For the second period, especially as it got later on, the two goal scorers, a great period, Luke Osborne and L.J. Mooney. Mooney also with an assist. And the one little thing to watch for, U.S. switched goaltenders at the midpoint, and it's been a while since the team's warmed up. Cam Hendrickson has not seen a lot of action, and when the Swedes do get some zone time, it's going to be interesting to see if he can get his feet under him. I've talked to a lot of coaches. They always would rather a guy face 50 over the game and constantly be involved and have a late game situation and be ready for it than someone that goes through long periods of inactivity. And I think that's certainly describes Cam Hendrickson so far in the half a period that he's played. He hasn't seen a lot in his end.
No doubt about it. All right, we'll see if Mr. Hendrickson is up to that. UConn commit. He'll be heading out east next year after playing last season with the Waterloo Blackhawks. It is 2-1. Team USA leads Sweden. Back with more in about 10 from Ritter Arena here on the University of Minnesota campus.
That escalated. We got a lot more active. That got a lot better. It really did. I felt the first half of this was just kind of non-eventful, but it really was.
Welcome back to Ritter Arena. Team USA coming onto the ice for the final period against Team Sweden in the second game of day one of this summer showcase, as this event is being used as a camp for the United States to end up selecting their players for the upcoming World Junior Championships. There was the first goal of the hockey game. Ivar Stenberg with the deflection there to give Sweden a 1-0 lead. But then the United States countered. Osborne with the goal by Mooney to tie it at 1. And then L.J. Mooney, look at this shot, wired up under the bar, gave the United States the lead with just 61 seconds left in the second period. So we start the third. And the U.S. not only with the lead, but they will also have a man advantage for a minute 29 as the Swedish penalty carries over into the third period. Jim Rich along with John Conley. And John, even though the United States came out sluggish, they have come to life here in this period. The second I'm referring to as they outshot Sweden 18-6, and now have a chance to widen the lead. And this is where the first game flipped, too. In the first 3 minutes of the third period, the United States scored twice, and that put Finland on their heels for the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely right. And you get to this level of play, and the margin between the different teams is pretty small. I think it's a good time to mention Sweden. We talked about all those high draft picks and how this looks like a team that's ready to compete.
Another penalty here as Mooney gets chopped down, so it'll be a two-man advantage for 54 seconds for the U.S.
What a disaster for a third period start for Sweden. I was looking for some point to bring it up. Sweden, we talk about the U.S. has won 3 of the last 5 World Juniors. They've won 7, I think, since 2004. Sweden has played in the championship game 14 times. 14 times. But they have only won twice. So they have a history of having a team that's good enough to get to the final, and they have to be asking questions internally. What do we need to do to win that last game? And right now, this is why you're here. You mentioned earlier game, you're trying to find people that are going to step up in situations. So a lot of pressure here on Lova Harenstam. He's got 40 seconds of 5-on-3, followed by another penalty to kill.
Conley comes roaring in, goes right to the net, and tried to go to the backhand, was denied. Now he sets it up. Centering pass right in front, comes back to Conley. He shoots, it's deflected off a stick, comes to Osborne. Osborne on the far side to Conley. They change positions. Conley walks in, fires, and that's snared and held for the faceoff. And now there are 19 seconds left on the two-man advantage.
Yeah, Harenstam in position, made the glove save, still has 19 seconds of 5-on-3 time. Then there will be over a minute of 5-on-4 time. And on the other side in blue, the U.S. doing a great job with that overlapping attack, trying to create a lot of movement, making it harder for the defenders to track the power play skaters.
Big face-off win by Mo. Harrington playing give and go with Rushevich. U.S. still with the two-man advantage, but just for now 3 seconds. Back to the blue line. Mooney lets it go. It goes off the glass, deflecting high and into the corner. Sweden now one man short for 59 seconds, and they're able to push it out to center. Rushevich has to retreat back into his own zone, plays it across to Harrington. Now coming in, Rushevich across the line, shovels it in deeper, but it's cleared right out by Sweden. So they have survived the two-man down portion of this penalty and still have 25 seconds left to kill. But if they come out of this and are only down a goal, I'm sure they would consider that a win.
Absolutely. That second penalty that they took really causing problems. They'll breathe easy if they can take the last 10 ticks off. Turnover, that'll kill the last few seconds of the penalty.
Short-handed bid, played in deep, and both teams are back at full strength as Stenberg was able to intercept that pass. Osborne plays it in deep. Sweden back at full strength. U.S. 0 for 4 now on the power play here this afternoon. Turnover again by the Americans. Centering pass broken up in front. And now Team USA Zellers comes back the other way. Drop pass going in. Stick save. Rebound is loose. Zellers poking at it. And it's pushed to the far side and back out to center.
Yeah, Bednarik made a feed, and then he went to the goal. He was in position to get the rebound. Nice save made by Harnstam, and he did a pretty good job of clearing the rebound out after that. He's continued to play well for Sweden.
Zellers tried the reverse hit on Magnuson, and doesn't work when the guy is the size of Magnuson because Zellers went sailing in the corner. Long shot, deflects off Hendrickson. Sweden keeping it in the zone. Centering pass. Picked off by Connolly in front. Pushes it to the corner. They fight for possession there as we approach 16 minutes to go in the hockey game. As you alluded to, if it's tied, there will be overtime and a shootout. Eberson plays it in. Cleared away from him. Along the near side, Kevon rolls it around, but Sweden there waiting for it. Boumediana sends it in deep. Whipple takes the hit, but moves the puck ahead. Eberson across the line has a man go to the net, and it was broken up. Good play there.
Nice play, Sasha Boumedian, because he had a player behind him and managed to deflect the puck enough to stop it and prevent the scoring chance.
Fernstrom plays it out. U.S., though, comes right back in. Playing around to the far side. Whipple with it at the red line. Now to the blue line. Tripped up and goes down hard. Johansson caught him with a knee, and Whipple is down on the ice. And let's hope this isn't serious because he caught that knee. Take a look right here. John Whipple gets to the line and whew.
Yeah, Johansson stepped in for the check and the player turned into him, and one of those hits that catches just a piece and then sends the player flying. So Johansson not happy with it, but let's hope that Whipple is all right because, like you said, on that knee area.
Yeah, and the trainer's talking to him on the bench, but John's nodding his head saying he's okay. So that's great. And again, Sweden now will be shorthanded for the 5th time, and one of these opportunities could be detrimental to Sweden's cause here.
Yeah, Jim, if somebody tuned in at the midpoint of period 2, I don't think they would believe how dominant Sweden was at times through that first period and had the better of the gameplay, took a 1-0 lead. But that seems like ancient history right now, and they've got yet another penalty to kill. That's the 5th penalty of the game on Sweden.
Yep.
And some of them overlap for some 5-on-3 time, and you can only go to the well so much. You just wonder if the U.S. is about to get a power play goal.
Osborne drops it back. Conley sails right through, shoots, caught up high, rebound, clear, not out. Zeller's shot deflected wide off the traffic in front, and the rebound is backhanded all the way down.
What a recovery by Lova Harnstam. He was out of position and got to his feet, slid across, and got in the way where Zellers at least had some traffic and had to shoot, and it wound up going wide.
Osborne couldn't hold it in, so now U.S. will backtrack at center as they get back on side and now make some personnel changes as well. And they'll retreat all the way back to their own zone. Mo starting it out for the U.S. as they approach the 2nd minute of this power play. Brzeznevich plays it off. Quick shot right on. Save is made, and again, Sweden gets the all-important clear.
Yeah, Pedersen quickly getting rid of it, just recognizing we got to keep fresh penalty killers out. He went off to the bench, and fresher legs came over the boards.
And again, Sweden gets to it and clears it down ice. Genberg got to it, and he'll roll it all the way back down to his own zone. Wallace back to get it for Sweden. Now it's chopped down the ice again, and just 5 seconds left. So Sweden's penalty killing has been fantastic today, but as you mentioned, the best penalty killer is your goaltender, and that's been the case for Sweden here this afternoon.
Well, credit the Three Crowns as it got late into that penalty kill. They finally got possession, and at that point were able to play keep away for the final 20, 25 seconds. Now we get a chance to mentally reset. Less than 13 minutes to go. For all of the penalty time, all the kill time that the Swedes have had, they do only trail 2-1, and if they can find a way, just takes one great play or one good bounce, and this game will be tied.
Puck was dropped unfairly, so they'll do it again. 31-23 now are the shots. So the U.S. has had 6 in this period. Sweden just 1. But again, the penalties have kept the Swedes' offense preoccupied. Now Nielsen across the line. Knocked off his stick. Americans quickly turn it the other way. Pass behind the intended target. Epperson has to go back for it. Now feeds rink wide. Quick shot. That goes over the top of the net by McKinney. Rebound in behind. Spellacy trying to work it free. Does. McKinney on the far side brings it back to the point. Now to the near side. Kleber dishes across. And then Emery lost the handle. And Sweden takes over. McKinney, though, with the steal along the half boards. Back to Kleber. Kleber activates, goes to the corner, and now brings it back to the blue line. Tried to throw it in deep. That was blocked, and now Sweden counters. But Kleber calmly breaks that up, feeds it ahead. McKinney, tip pass, coming across the line. Epperson throws it in front, and it was just tipped away from Bednarik, who was busting down the slot. And the rebound set the distance, icing here against Sweden with 11:37 to go.
That was a big deflection for the Swedes because, as you mentioned, Bednarik in position in the slot, and they can ill afford to give up another one. Still 11 and a half to go, but they don't have momentum on their side right now and really don't want to fall further behind.
Bednarik to take the face-off for Team USA out there between Park and Zellers. Now Zellers in the corner. Bednarik, Zellers, back to Whipple, who's back out there after getting spun around on that check that caught him in the knee. It looks like Whipple is just fine, and that's certainly great news for Team USA and for Bob Motzko, who's his head coach during the regular season at the University of Minnesota.
And you bring up something I hadn't thought much about, but Bob Motzko has a lot of players here, and there is going to be a process of whittling the field down to the final roster for the World Junior, and it's likely that not all of the players that are Gophers get to play for Bob Motzko in the World Junior, so kind of a tense moment there.
Oh, a great chance there as the Swedes nearly had this tied right on the doorstep, but not being able to finish was Ekberg.
That's as good a chance as they've had in, over a period.
Now the Americans coming back. It's funny, you know, if that went in, it's a tie hockey game, and you'd go, what? How is this a tied hockey game? With all the great looks Team USA had and offensive zone time the Americans have had, but they are still hanging on by just one shot.
I agree. It's been a wild ride that gets us to this 2-1 point, and now Sweden showing some signs of life as we hit the last half of the last period. Only down by a goal, that shot board, 32-23. And at one point, Sweden had the pronounced advantage.
Conley steals, tries to get it in front, but then it's taken right back. And Sweden counters. Pettersson across the line. Holds up, drops it back. Quick shot, score! And we are all even. Lindberg puts it by Hendrickson, who got a piece of it, but not enough of it. And just as we were foreshadowing this, saying that Sweden just needed a shot, they just got it. And it is now a new hockey game tied at 2.
Yeah, I think it's Berglund 26 and Berglund 26 from Pettersson. And we are tied. Cam Hendrickson, I mentioned, he's a right catch, caught a piece of it in the glove, but it spit through and did find twine. We're tied with 9:36 to go, and that is Berglund from Pettersson.
Oh, yeah, Lindberg is 28. You are correct.
No big deal. The announcer's never wrong. It's the guy that does the font on the 6, the 8, and the 9. They can be hard to read.
So, interesting now, 9 minutes to go, and we will see which team comes through here. Sweden has been a team that's been resilient today. They took a lot of punches from the United States and killed 5 shorthanded situations and now have come back to tie. Fernstrom now plays it over to the far side. Throwing in on Hendrickson. He gloves that, throws it in behind, and play continues. Now Nielsen with the steal. Gets it back to the point. Long shot off the target. Activating from the near side. Sweden trying to work it out front along the wall. Stenberg. And the puck was played with a high stick. And so we'll have a face-off with 8:19 to go.
Tough break there for Stenberg because he had the hand-eye coordination to get a piece of it, knock it down, and they were going to have a little moment for a quick pass before the U.S. could get settled, but the puck was just above shoulder level, and we go to the neutral zone for a face-off. The ice-scraping crew comes out, and wow, like you had mentioned just a few minutes ago, it's been a wild ride that brought us to this point, but we are set up for an exciting conclusion. 8:19 to go, third period action. Sweden just tied it 2-2 with USA Blue, and I will say anybody's ball game because Harnstam has been hard to figure out, and I don't know that the U.S. is going to get many scoring chances good enough to get past him.
No, if the U.S. couldn't convert on the 5 power plays, you know you're going to have a difficult time when it's 5-on-5.
Yeah, we haven't called his name for a while, but Viggo Bjork is taking the face-off. Youngest player we'll see today. One of the better 2008-born players in the world. Had an outstanding first period. And
but he's been quiet since.
And some of that could be situational. If you have 5 penalties to kill,
True.
That's not a feature situation for a small, skilled forward. So I'm really curious as this game unfolds. I always say the sun goes down, the stars come out, and there's no question the sun is setting on this game. 8 minutes to go. So who's going to be the hockey hero? I'm curious if Viggo Bjork, youngest player in the game, can step up and put his imprint on the finish. Oh, turnover in transition.
It's a big one. Coming in, and he's tripped up. Save is made, but this could be a penalty shot, perhaps.
No, they didn't
signal.
We
will see. No,
they didn't signal. Oh, he did. Okay.
And there it is. He is giving a penalty shot, and it'll go to Stenberg.
I've never seen that long of a delay from blowing the whistle dead to signaling for the penalty shot. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was an obvious penalty shot, but then he didn't signal it. Have you ever seen him wait that long?
I'm sure he's mulling it over in his head, going like, God, do I really do this in a 2-2 game with 7:51 to go. But the puck is going to be placed on the center dot. And here's another look at it. And no doubt he had a clear path to the net.
Yeah, so this is
And Whipple chopped him down.
This is Stenberg. He had that shift earlier in the game. Ivar Stenberg, he won a race to a puck and then tipped one in to get the game's first goal.
So Stenberg can give Sweden the lead. Comes right to the front and goes up top. A beautiful goal. And Sweden now has the lead at 3-2.
Boy, a lot happened in a short period of time there. Stenberg's a left-handed shot, came in on an S-curve, and he got the goaltender moving. That's the reason for the S-curve. And I mentioned many times today, Cam Hendrickson catches right, elevator up. He shot that over his left-hand blocker. Typically, that's where the catcher is, and he recognized the vulnerability with the goaltender flipped, and he went high under the bar. And Ivar Stenberg, as unlikely as it seems, Jim, has put Sweden back on top 3-2, and now it's the U.S. that has to bounce back.
That's what happens when you don't convert on the power plays. You get that much time, almost 10 minutes of power play time, and the Americans had looks, but they weren't able to capitalize. Sweden survived that barrage of penalties, and now they have taken the lead. So we'll see what Team USA can do here, trying to get things done. Into the corner. McKinney tried to center it, but that's intercepted, and the Swedes come out. Throws it on Hendrickson. He's got to gobble it up, and he'll have to take the draw with 6:52 left in regulation.
So we probably have some younger viewers that are still playing, and you can use a moment like that as an instructional for some things that he did very well. So the S-curve, a left-handed shot, starts out to the right. Now when he gets toward the goal, he's moving to his forehand. Goaltender knows that's a position he can shoot or deke, and what he's looking for is the goaltender depth. If the goaltender's not coming out to greet him, there's going to be a little bit more room to shoot, and that's what Stenberg did. So like I said, it happened real fast, but if you watch the replay, you see a lot of things that young players can learn from, and a beautiful goal from Stenberg. Actually made it look easy, right, Jim? I mean, this looks like he knew what he was doing, and Hendrickson got caught frozen when he even had a crossover in there that froze the goalie and got him to stop moving, and just split second created a scoring chance. Is that a linesman's
It's
bucket?
a linesman's helmet.
Well, it looks like. No, it's a player bucket for the U.S. It's a dark, but that player must have found his way to the bench already. Oh,
big save there. Sprawling save is made. And the U.S. coming that close to tying this game.
Mason Moe on the doorstep. Lova Harnstam. Lova Harnstam is a character in a horror film for the U.S. today. He has just been
That's a good one.
over. He's been amazing. Lova Harnstam, I think he was drafted by St. Louis. I'm going to verify. Very few goaltenders get drafted their first year of eligibility.
He is. He is a Blues product.
Yeah, that's our first game we had a Finnish goaltender that had been drafted, but very seldom do the goaltenders get drafted their first year of eligibility. There's a little longer runway of development, and Harnstam is looking good today.
Whipple steps up, keeps it in the zone. Shot is blocked. Meanwhile, two players are tied up at the bottom of the circle. Connolly getting back up to his feet as he was tied up with one of the Swedish defensemen. Now Walnes back in his own zone. 5:35 to go in regulation. Magnuson slides it up the far side. And Sweden's able to fire it in. Nielsen throws it back to Magnuson. He'll fire a shot, knocked down in front. And the rebound cleared ahead. Here's Zellers. cut off from the puck, and it's pushed back the other way by Fry. Now Stenberg to the corner, tied up there. And it's cleared by Team USA, but the Americans don't want to just clear the puck. They want to get some offensive chances going here. Offside at the Swedish blue line. And so we'll have a face-off with now 4:45 left. Shots 33-28 in favor of the Americans, but they find themselves now down a goal after Stenberg converted on the penalty shot.
Credit to Sweden and Coach Magnus Hamelid and the players with poise, because it's been a wild ride. It feels like a roller coaster, and I'm not anywhere close to the ice. And this is a team that had looked down and out with the amount of D-zone time on the 5 penalty kills, but now they've got a lead and a chance to score another.
Yeah, going in, backhander, save made by Henriksen, a big stop there. Swedish bench calling for a penalty, but play goes on as Linus Eriksson had that opportunity.
And a great recovery from Osborne to get back and challenge the shooter. As you mentioned, Swedes wanted a call, but he really did a great job breaking up the play.
Now Zetterberg breaks up the play at the blue line, but then loses the handle. And the U.S. had it momentarily, but then it was knocked away from Kevon, rather. I'll get that one down soon. On the far side, Pettersson back to the point. Sweden, centering pass, broken up. And now it's chopped out to center. Conley, who's had a strong game, rings it off the crossbar. He put it up over the shoulder. It kissed the crossbar and stayed out. Looked like he had no angle, but Conley still was able to get it up high and just couldn't get it to drop in.
Near side top corner, and near miss there. 3:19 to go. And boy, Jim, this game is just so exciting. And it is unfolded a lot different than I think anyone would have predicted middle of the second period.
Now it'll be interesting to see what the Americans do. We were questioning when the Finns would pull their goaltender in game 1. They did it while they were on the power play, down by 2, but weren't able to be successful. Now U.S. down by a goal and under 3 to play. We'll have to keep an eye on when they may lift their netminder in hopes of tying this game up. Centering pass right in front, deflected. And Brushevich really didn't get a lot on that redirect. And the save is made, puck is covered, 2:36 left here in regulation.
And watch Brushevich. That's the crossbar shot. Conley going high near side. And here's Brushevich. Great work by the replay crew, getting both of those. Those happened about 2 minutes apart in game time. So the timeout was called. You had mentioned U.S. probably trying to figure out when to get the goaltender pulled. They'll consider it now. With the zone, it's easier to get the goaltender out. I think some people think, well, what if we lose the draw? If you lose the draw, it's a whole lot easier to keep the zone with 6 versus 5. So I know there's a lot of time on the clock, but U.S. is considering, do we get the goaltender out now with 2:36? Last thing you want to do is have the faceoff, lose the zone, and then see Sweden get some zone time to melt time off the clock. So we'll see what happens here. Coach Bob Motzko and staff have a decision to make, but they have called timeout, even strength with 2.5 to go, trailing by 1.
And for those watching, they're looking at the U.S. bench. They have a hard time finding Bob Motzko. That's because he's been watching from up above. So his assistants are running the show, but I'm sure he has a way to communicate down there if he'd like. But for today's games, he's been up here by us watching the action and making notes of how his team is being put together and making decisions on his roster. 2:36 left. The goaltender has been pulled. Henriksen is gone. Extra attacker on for Team USA, down a goal.
And Three Crowns can smell blood. If they can find a way to get the empty netter, that would be almost a final nail in the coffin. They cleared the zone.
U.S., though, coming right back in. Osborne brings it into the zone. The defenseman activated to the corner. Comes to the side of the net. He's hooked. But U.S. has had plenty of chances on the power play. The officials let this one go. Sweden takes a shot at the empty net and misses. And so another offensive zone draw for Team USA with 2:14 left in regulation.
Before Nielsen took the shot that went just wide, just shy of the red line, which is why we have an offside or an icing whistle, there were two incredibly patient plays made in their own end, in traffic by Swedish players. They took an extra moment to get the passes connecting and tried to clear the zone with possession rather than just send it out mindlessly to neutral.
Now Osborne lets it go. It deflects off the traffic wide. Mooney with the rebound. Tied up along the wall. Moves the puck. It's poked away. Race for the empty net. And Sweden will get it. Stenberg gets the hat trick. An even strength goal. A penalty shot goal. And now an empty netter.
And he got a towel thrown on the ice by the Swedish bench. So we make do with what we have. And a hat not available. What a game. You know, this is something where as they drop the puck, I thought, you know, if Sweden holds on, my player of the game, it's got to be Harnstam. And as soon as I thought that, I said, well, what about Ivar Stenberg? He's been amazing with that big shift that got the goal early, put him on the board. Then the penalty shot goal, and now the empty netter, the icing on the cake, if you will. Less than 2 minutes to go. Likely winners here, and two spirited performances from Harnstam and Ivar Stenberg with a hat trick in this one for the undrafted forward, just 5'9", 181 from Frölunda.
Some scouts here in the building are probably going, how did we miss on that guy? How did no one take him? I know the size may be a factor, but he's shown the skill here this afternoon.
He's pretty young. If he lived in the U.S., being born end of September, I'm pretty sure he would be a high school senior upcoming. So Ivar Stenberg, a pretty young player. And that's our answer, Jim. Joe, September, I think 15th is the cut. He's not draft eligible yet.
Oh,
so
well, there you go.
I guess that's, now that I look
Nobody's
at the date.
missed it.
Yeah, so Stenberg putting his name on everybody's list. Great game from him today. And
U.S. pulls the goaltender again, and it'll be another empty netter for the Swedes. And it is now
Felix Orquist.
And now it is 5-2 with the pair of empty netters.
And I'll say the same thing I said about the last 5-2 game, which is score not really indicative of the gameplay. It was, what were we, about 5 to 10 minutes into the third period. It still seemed like USA was going to win this one fairly comfortably. And credit Sweden. What a comeback, and then what a finish, and now what a closeout.
Final minute of play here. And Sweden looks to pick up their first win of the summer showcase. And USA Blue will be 0-1. But you look at this American squad, and we saw a lot of guys have good games here today. Brushevitz was good for the Americans. Spellacy was good. Moe was good.
Trevor
Conley was fantastic. The speed he showed numerous times.
LJ Mooney.
Yep.
I heard you call Ben Keevan's name a lot. He's always around the puck, which no surprise given his success.
Osborne.
Yeah.
Got to throw his name out there.
Yeah. So add it all up, Jim. I think all four teams are pretty happy with some of the things they saw. And then the coaches with a critical eye probably have some things they want to work on with the players the rest of the week they're here.
And there's the horn to end the game. And so Sweden takes it 5-2, even though the U.S. ends up outshooting the Swedes 34-32. And really the story of this game goes to the power play and lack of success for Team USA. 0 for 5, including a two-man advantage over a minute, and they were not able to get that critical goal because at that point they had a 2-1 lead, and one more really would have put the Swedes in a bit of a bind. And instead they were able to weather those shorthanded situations, and then you get the momentum. As you said, all of a sudden things flip. We haven't played well, we haven't done well, we've made a lot of mistakes, yet we're only down by one shot. And then all of a sudden you get that shot, you're like, hey, we're in this thing.
Absolutely. Feckless, the word of the day for the Americans when it comes to that power play. And you take a look at the other side, and with the Swedes, just an incredible ability to remain calm and poised across the bench. The message from the coaches was clearly something about not panicking and not giving up and not worrying about a long period of being outplayed, in many ways aided by 10 minutes of penalties to kill. That was, late second period, early third period. But coming out of that, really the light at the end of the tunnel, Sweden played beautiful hockey after that and shows what we thought going in. This is a contender to win a medal, maybe even win it all 6 months from now at the World Junior.
No doubt about it. So, interesting afternoon. Team USA White wins their game against Finland.
There's the game's first goal on replay with a tip from the blue line. Ivar Stenberg gets him on the board. There's the goal for Osborne. And I didn't mention it during the game. We see the U.S. defenders frequently drifting up and getting into the play, not just Osborne, but we're seeing a lot of that. And it's real fun to watch. Again, one of the benefits of having the kids together as a unit for 2 years in the National Team Development Program, and then for the players that aren't inside the program, USA Hockey invites them to some other similar events like the Five Nations, and they also get a chance to play at some of the national summer camps growing up. And U.S. defense is kind of known for drifting in and creating that spot. And it's not mindless. It's always kind of when there's a chance to float up in and not leave. I think you call it the activating defenseman. And, we saw a lot of that on display in both games from the red, white, and blue.
No doubt about it. Well, it was a delight. It was fun. We hope you, the viewers, enjoyed it as much as we did, because there is a lot of talent on the ice.
And a lot of hockey to be played. 2 down, 9 to go in the 11 games here from Minnesota. So, Jim, I've really enjoyed it, and kind of curious to see what happens with the U.S., the Three Crowns, and the Finns. And I think Canada takes the ice on Monday. Tuesday, with some games Tuesday. And they'll play each other, and shaping up to be a great week of hockey in the Summer Showcase.
It should be fun. For John Connolly, I'm Jim Rich. Thank you so much for joining us today, and come back tomorrow. Game 1 at 11:30. Game 2, or what am I saying? Game 1 is at 1 o'clock. Game 2 is at 4:30 right here on this same streaming service. Thank you for watching, and we'll speak to you tomorrow afternoon.
Will have just as much fun, and I'll see when I get back. I guess you and I'll see each other Friday, maybe. For God's sake, we just get a report going and now you leave. Well, I didn't know this was an option, and I already had plans. And I wish you well. I think you said your boat lift got in to get you squared away on the lake, so now you can get out on the lake a little easier.
That broke in the last storm. I got to fix more crap.
When was that?
We had one that we got like 5 inches of rain.
I think
that was still the boat, and it made the boat so heavy it broke the lid.
Maybe 6 weeks ago.
Like 3 weeks ago or something.
There was there was, because I was going up to play golf. We were playing couples golf, and when we got there, and the 9 hole was close.
thanks for everything. I'll see you Wednesday, and I'll text